to take you back to a warm summer day. I was teaching my son how to ride a bike. You can probably picture this. I was holding on tightly to his seat, trying to steady the handlebars. And I was also trying to pedal for him a little along the way. But then finally, my son looked at me and he yelled, "Mom, let go." Whew, let go. This mama heart did not want to let go, because I knew in that moment that if I let go, there was a good chance that my son would struggle. There was a good chance that my son was going to fall. But in that moment, I also realized I was carrying the learning for my son. And if I continue to do that, he's never going to learn how to ride a bike on his own. I also realized that I was carrying that same mindset into my classroom. I think back to the week before school would start, as I start getting IEPs, 504 plans, list of students receiving intervention, and I would pore over these documents. I was teacher tired. And let me tell you, I was poring over them, trying to figure out how I could support each and every student that came into my room. I was trying to figure out how I could pre-help, mid-help, how I could support my students before a problem even existed. I think now to the backpack. This backpack that our students carry. As a teacher, I was filling my students' backpack. I was filling with support after support after support, and a lot of times I threw in an extra support just in case the other supports didn't work. And guess what, kids? Today is your lucky day. All of you get these supports because no one in my class struggles. This is what I realized. I needed to work on building self-efficacy for my students. Self-efficacy is the belief that I can do hard things. Albert Bandura, a psychologist, he says the problem is that when someone else puts forth the effort, that we cannot realize that we can do those hard things. We have to believe in ourselves. We have to start realizing that we're capable and we're stronger than we could ever imagine. And we have to start doing that for our students. Now, I'm not saying that we remove struggle. Instead, I'm saying that we give our struggle a purpose. I'm saying that we don't remove all those supports, because supports matter. Accommodations matter. Compassion definitely matters. But we have to make sure that we're giving our students the right supports. We need to make sure that we're giving our students the supports that build strength instead of the supports that remove effort. So I want to tell you about one of my students, Cam. Cam is one of those students that you're immediately drawn to, always smiling, happy personality. But Cam lacked one important thing. Cam lacked self-efficacy. Cam didn't think that he was smart enough, strong enough, capable enough to do those hard things. A question would come across, it was hard for Cam. Guess what he did? He'd raise his hand, and guess what I did? I would run over there and try to help him because I didn't want Cam to struggle. Remember, I don't want anyone to struggle. But then I had to ask myself, who's carrying the learning? And I can tell you, it was me, because I was exhausted, because I was carrying the cognitive load. And so I had to ask myself, what can I do? We need to make a change. I've got to shift what's going on in my classroom. And so we started small, and I didn't remove supports, but I made sure that I was giving the right supports to Cam and all of my other students. So if Cam started to struggle, guess what I did? I would try to ask him questions and help him figure out how he could solve his own problem. I also started asking him to track his progress of his mastery of his learning. We started using data trackers in my class. My students were setting goals. They were reflecting on the feedback that they were getting, and they were using this feedback to decide what their next steps were. They were learning that they could do hard things. And let me tell you, it's going to take them farther than they could ever imagine. They're going to be more capable than they could have ever thought. My students were building self-efficacy. And honestly, if you think about it, school is practice for life. Because in life, just because something gets difficult, expectations don't adjust. If we get stuck, there's not a pause button. Life doesn't come with step-by-step instructions. It doesn't come with a teacher right there beside you telling you exactly what to do and how to do it. I think about applying for the first job, maybe filing taxes, fixing a leaky sink. None of those came with a teacher or a parent right beside you trying to tell you exactly what to do, taking away your struggle, owning the learning, carrying your backpack. You had to do that on your own. And if we're not doing that in our classroom, if we're not teaching our students that they can do the hard things, then we're not setting them up for success in life. So I want you to think about what you might do in your classroom. Because to me, this became personal. When my daughter was going into her sophomore year of high school, she kept telling me, "Mom, I'm struggling. For years, Mom, I've been struggling. School is so hard for me." And so I asked, how could this be? Because my daughter had really good grades. She had all A's. She has a 4.0 GPA, right? She's involved in everything. I go to conferences. What do the teachers tell me? She's great. She's doing fine. I wish I had a whole classroom of students like her, right? That's what I was hearing. But that summer, right before her sophomore year of high school, she's like, "Mom, I'm really nervous about this next year. School is so hard for me." So I had to put on my parent hat, and we did some screenings. And sure enough, characteristics of dyslexia. My daughter had learned how to carry her own learning. For 16 years, she had done it. And as a parent, I thought, what in the world? I didn't try to remove those obstacles. I didn't take the struggle away from her. I allowed her to carry her backpack. But let me tell you, I asked myself, where does my daughter truly need support in this moment? And where does she need an opportunity to continue growing her capacity? And you know what? She got to go to a national conference in Washington, D.C. this past summer. She got to co-develop and present in Washington, D.C. to our federal agencies, working with the substance abuse, mental health agencies on youth mental health. And I cannot be more proud of her because she carried her own backpack. And she figured out that she can do hard things. She was given a struggle, but her struggle had purpose and has carried her farther than I could have ever imagined. So I ask you tonight, where might you be carrying the learning for someone? Maybe you already have someone in mind. Maybe it's one of your students. Maybe it's your own child. Maybe it's a colleague. And I want you to ask yourself, what might happen if you allow them the chance to carry their own learning? You support them, you guide them, you give them the tools that they need, but then you hand them their backpack and you step away and you allow them that opportunity to have a little bit of struggle. Thank you.